Here we are again. Make sure you're liking, subscribing, hearting, thumbs upping, 5-starring, all of the things. I am back having nicotine, and I don't know if it's good for me. Bum, bum, bum. That's what you need to do.
And I'm still having coffee, and it is good for me.
Every time you swallow, just push the mic away.
Yeah, I know, but then I'm on like this teeter-totter thing. Like I have to really, you can't see from the camera, but I'm anchored by a bag that I feel like it just starts swinging to where now I'm like so worried about messing up any
Let's get wild in here.
quality.
No, you're fine. Low energy, huh?
What?
Pick it up.
I feel like, you know what, I need to start doing this before,
We slept too good.
in the morning. I need to start doing this before the podcast, like the communication guy talked about. I started doing it before emceeing, and it kind of helped, like doing kind of vocal warm-ups, like even just my mouth, because I feel like I can't move my mouth yet.
Paralyzed. There you go. Just do
Like-
your face yoga.
You know, like your tongue is working, but my skin in my face is not stretching quickly enough to get the sounds
Oh,
out.
wow. So scientific. That's pretty crazy.
Can you do one of the exercises? Some people can't do it. Just this. Yeah, you kind of can do it. Some people have
Kinda. I
Some
just
people have to do.
perfected it.
Okay, but now do it like this. Wait. That's actually hard for me.
Yeah, me too.
That's supposed to make it easier.
I feel like I hair in my mouth.
That's deeper. That's better.
I'm good. Talent.
Why can I not do it like that?
Well, if you push too much, it pushes your lips into like a...
It's like I can't make it started.
Should we start this over so you can get ready?
No.
That would be hilarious. How are you liking the pillow after 4 or 5 nights? We got new pillows, ergonomic pillows. It's supposed to help back sleeping and side sleeping. And I think we got them for kind of 2 different reasons. Me, I sleep on my stomach, so my neck is cranked to the side. And I've been having painful neck problems. Not that painful, but just like not great in the neck.
It's just like that irritation. Like it's a little bit stiff when you wake up. And
Yes, every single day, and I'm like constantly moving my neck to like try to loosen it up or whatever, to where seriously after like 5 nights of it, all of that is going away rapidly.
That's really cool. Because I think
Because this pillow is forcing me, like it's not comfortable to sleep on my stomach.
it's just changing your position into a better position.
It's forcing me to sleep on my back and my side, which is funny because your dad said the same thing that happens to me when you asked him about it. The dreams have been ridiculous and crazy, so that's not cool. But if I sleep on my back, that's when I have like crazy bad dreams and whatever. And he said that before I said it, and I was like, holy shit. So he sleeps on his back just like if I sleep on my back, bad dreams. So the dreams have been ridiculous, but I don't know. I feel like maybe just over time, my system will get used to sleeping on the back, or I'll just sleep and have nightmares every single night.
But do you have them when you're on your side? Because that
I don't
pillow
think so.
is great for on your side. I don't know if it's great, like structurally, but I definitely like sleeping on my side with the pillow.
Structurally, it's okay.
Okay.
As long as like the pillow is good and has you still in like a kind of a straighter neutral spine position.
Okay.
Ideally, you'd have like the pillow between your knees too.
Which I do. I have that little, like the rolled up one.
Oh, then you're good. Yeah.
It's kind of hard for me to say whether I like it or not because I was wanting such a specific feeling on my back.
Yeah.
Like when I'm on my back, I don't want to have to balance my head. Otherwise, I like have to feel comfortable putting it to the side. And then just for structural position, that's not great. But then also like for anti-aging, my skin is just being pulled to one side or the other. That when I sleep on my side, even in the middle of the night, like when I'm pretty habitual about it now that I'll do it without even thinking, where I'll like pull my skin and my face up and then lay down. So
Oh, sure. Rather than smushing to the front.
I'll still do this. But feeling wise, it's kind of tricky because I feel like we got them in days where I was working out a little bit more, dancing a little bit more, walking a little bit more, outside a little bit more. So I don't know. My body just all around kind of feels like crunchy and strained, but I think it's a lot of those other things.
And I think we had people here, like we had your mom here and then your dad here right after that. Just like we have the nightlight on in the bathroom, which we never have.
Yeah.
So I think there was just somebody else in the apartment, the nightlight, that sort of stuff that like just a little bit makes sleeping a little bit odd. You hear something, I mean, but this is kind of funny too, is something you had learned from Erica Comazar of like when you're sleeping, women tend to hear like the higher pitched, almost like baby crying noises, and that wakes them up, to where the men hear like
external sounds
and like ruffling, whatever, to where I feel like if they would move in the bed, I could hear them, and I was probably waking up from that.
Yeah.
So it took me a few days to get used to somebody being here. But
the only time I really don't get disturbed when people are here, the only time that I get, and I don't think this is because like of my womanly nature, like I don't think it's like what you're saying. I think it's just more, well, because I'm going to explain.
Well, no, just screw me, I guess.
No, I
Throw
agree
me
with you,
under the
but
bus.
I'm saying what I'm going to say is going to sound like I'm just,
You're right. I'm an
like
asshole.
it almost sounds like I'm repeating what you just said. I do have trouble sleeping when like the nieces are here, just because they're younger. I'm worried, like, are they not going to see walking up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom, or like just like they're kids. So I'm thinking like, what if they need help? That I'm like on a high alert, or like if I start to hear in the morning, I'm like, well, I should get up.
Yeah.
That I don't sleep as normally then, but with adults, I'm like, they'll figure it out.
I think it was less people being here and more the nightlight. That I just don't like. Which is funny. You put a sock over it to try to dim the light.
Didn't
even
it work
more.
though, kinda?
It did work, but yeah, still. To where last night was the first night that was normal. So it's like we had all of that, plus the new pillows, plus you were dancing more. So I wonder if it's just get back to a little bit more normal of a situation, and then maybe the pillow will be better.
Yeah.
I also think, I don't know if it really works, but if you almost shift to one side of the pillow a little bit, still in the center, but a little bit, then you can just slightly lean your head against the side. That might be comfortable, but I don't know.
It's almost like my neck is too flexible that's not enough.
Whoa, quit bragging.
Like I want to be like
neck.
here and then like fully flat. Like
what?
I need to fully rest.
Show everybody what that was again. Holy shit, that's a flexible neck.
It is. But then it's so comfortable that I'm like that for hours potentially. It's like, imagine just holding a stretch for an hour.
Yeah. Well, and also what your dad said too, like when he got his new bed, he had heard that it takes like 2 weeks just to get used to a new bed and stuff, which we, you know, like he said too, assuming a pillow would be the same way. You got to get used to a new pillow. So, but yeah.
We're doing picture week at the studio. I am so excited for tonight with all the
little ones.
And the boys. Are you joking?
They'll probably be easier to wrangle than the older ones.
I don't know. The older ones listened really well when we went in there, and he was like, "Stand here, stand here."
Yeah. That's true. Just the rest of the class was.
The younger ones, it's just gonna take them a second to.
It's a
familiarize. Like, what is this?
Yeah, a whole new environment of lights and.
So I'll maybe like
backdrops.
sit them down and talk to them. Like, when we go in there, this is what you're gonna see, and there's gonna be a lot of lights and whatever, because that could just be so jarring to them.
Smart. Did you do that at your studio? Something like that? Because that seems pretty like, I don't know. Not that I was surprised, but maybe I was, of just like how much of a thing they had it? Like a whole
I'm
backdrop
trying
and a
to
floor
think.
and
When my mom had her studio, no, she did it like almost exactly like how they had it.
gotcha.
The studios after that, I don't think we ever did anything. I don't even know like who in town would have done it. Like I don't know if there was really like photographers around.
Yeah.
So we didn't do it for any of those. I remember doing like a team picture once of like everybody just like in their competition jackets, but it wasn't like that. And then when I went to Joey's, we did like full on photo shoots.
Gotcha.
So, but it wasn't like that, like where it's like you're in your costume, and it was like more like how Dupreus. Like we had a theme, we chose
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah. Very organized.
Yeah, it was like it was more of like a photo shoot to represent our group rather than
Specific dance.
yeah.
Yeah.
And we would do those like multiple times a year.
Gotcha. Well, should we get into our
Topic
of what we want to talk about?
Yeah.
This is coming at kind of perfect timing too because of my failing body, but we're talking about how to lose weight and just going over the things to be thinking about with that and how to successfully do it, how to actually get it to work. And also, I think talking about doing it in a way that's setting a foundation and setting you up for more success afterwards, rather than just lose a bunch of weight and now you might be sitting into like a skinny fat kind of situation, which is where I feel like I'm sitting right now.
Which I think this is also a good time to promote that slowly rolling out here will be some more content on our programs throughout the summer. I definitely will be posting a lot about the one that I will be doing.
Yeah.
So if you're looking for something to follow along with us. We're both going to be doing very different programs. But we will be posting like more in depth and details about how to program, how to structure everything, how to work out, more just by watching the workouts. But I will be providing details within mine too.
Yeah. I think
and that'll be on all of YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, everything.
For starting with me, like I was, 165 pounds, 8% body fat 2 years ago. And now I'm like 170 and 20% body fat. So how does that make you feel? That's.
And you don't look that different. I mean, you do.
I'm sure I look different, especially if there was more photos of me 2 years ago to compare to. But like what your dad said too, of you see yourself every day, you don't see those minimal changes that are happening over time. So, but yeah, that's what happens when you eat too much and don't exercise as much as you should be, and you're more sedentary and all that kind of stuff. I'm eating about probably over 3,000 calories a day, and my workouts have not been intense, haven't been super consistent. It's like I'm working out 2-3 times a week, but not like really challenging exercises or not long workouts, like very maintenance-y type workouts. And I think it would have probably been fine if I wasn't eating so much. Like I needed to curb the amount of calories that I was taking in order to keep like that 8% body fat, 165, whatever. And I think really where it changed was diving into how much protein I was having, and I was under eating as far as where I wanted to be at for how much protein I was having, which I want to be at about a gram of protein per pound of body weight. So if I weigh 165 pounds, I want to be eating 165 grams of protein. To where in order to do that, I started to eat more to where I was hitting that. But because I was getting my protein levels, now my calories were really high, over 3,000 a day. And then if I'm not exercising to kind of not burn that off, but to promote like a muscle building signal, my body is just starting to adapt in a way that I don't want to, which is putting on more fat, because it's the signal that you're sending. It's like, I'm not working out as intensely, so I'm not showing my body that I need to build the muscle. on top of eating so many calories. So now the body fat percentage starts to go up, 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 to where I probably could have been better at picking meals that were, or things that were higher protein content and then lower calorie content. So if I was able to just eat more, meats or protein or whatever, rather than all this other stuff that was super high in calorie, like
I would say with the food stuff, we need to be very specific. Like you say meats and proteins. What does proteins mean?
Oh, I said meat and protein. I meant to say like meats, eggs, like stuff that's really dense in protein, but not as high in calories. So like one of the examples that I figured out was with the bowl of nuts that I have every day.
Bowl as in like...
Yeah, it's not a big bowl. That was like 730 calories, to where the amount of protein in that's probably not that high, 20, 30 maybe. So it's like the amount of calories in that versus how much protein I'm getting from that ratio's just, it's not great. It's not to say that nuts are bad, but when you take the whole picture of it, that 730 grams of or 730 calories, that's so many calories to add on. I mean, even if I just took the nuts out, I'm already at like a 2,500. Mm-hmm. I'm eating 2,500 calories and only sacrificing 30 grams of protein, to where that, I think if I just cut out nuts, I bet my body fat percentage starts to go down.
Yeah. I mean, I think the difference between both of us, you started a job where we were traveling a lot more. So we're eating out of the house, which that is just not, it's too hard to control it as much as you can at home. And then we have days on flights. Like there's just less activity that we would have in a normal day. So that is already a hindrance to you. But comparing to my numbers, where I didn't really adjust that much, I think the biggest difference between you and I, because both of our schedules are pretty much the same, our activity level is pretty much the same. I would maybe get a workout in on the weekends where you didn't, but you're also setting up. So you're physically active probably more in the day than I would be. But I don't do the not snacks, but I don't do the additional things to the meals.
Right.
So it's like I'm eating breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and that's it. Yeah. I'm not having the nuts in between or a piece of bread in between or the fruit in between. That I think that's a good, just overall bullet point that we could use with this weight loss conversation is a lot of those tallying little snacks start to really add up.
Yeah. Well, and I think too, like you said, traveling is a different story, and the food that we're eating, there's a different story. But even at home, of eating over 3,000 calories, besides the protein powder, there's not a single highly processed food in there that I'm eating. Like even the bread is homemade sourdough bread, for, using yeast and all that kind of stuff. So even not eating highly processed food, it shows you that it's calories in versus calories out.
Yep.
Like I'm eating too many calories and not expending enough, or not sending a muscle building signal that continues to keep my body fat percentage low. I could still gain weight. So it kind of what I'm planning on doing is keeping this diet, but now having workouts be intense and sending that muscle building signal to see if I can maintain this weight, but just have that transfer of muscle or of fat into muscle, which I literally just did the reverse of that.
Yeah, basically explaining what he's saying with the body fat is he remained somewhat of the same weight over the last 2 years, but his body fat went from 8% to 20%. So like you look somewhat, the shape is the same. And this again is a point to, you can't just be looking at the scale. This is where I start to get aggressive.
Yeah.
You can't just look at the scale. There's so many other metrics that we have to pay attention to, because if you're looking at the scale for the last 2 years,
nothing's really changing.
And you're like, I'm eating the, whatever, I'm not really working out, but my body must be maintaining whatever it is. That internally you're seeing this shift to muscle mass is going down, fat cells are building. That your shape, that's what probably would have been more of a detector of the scale is not changing, but I guarantee your composition changed a little bit.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I bet if you were more...
visually, it changed. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because, like, data-wise, it obviously changed. I added 12% body fat, but visually is probably where you get a little bit more of a cue of what it is. And I'm sure you could, if you're really paying attention to it, you could probably feel like physically how things were. It's like, I've noticed that I've gotten weaker. Like the lifts that I used to be able to do this much weight and whatever, I'm not at those markers really anymore. But that's just something that I wasn't paying attention to over the last 2 years. It was just like, get workouts in, kind of maintain what we have. We've been working out from home mostly. So yeah, it's just balancing the calories in, calories out, but also what's your physical activity going on? Because I could do same calories, but now if I make workouts intense, that transition of muscle to fat will hopefully start to change. And if it doesn't, then it's just showing me, okay, still too many calories. Let's reduce the calories a little bit. And then hopefully that helps as well. But
so suggestion, because now let's give it like a protocol. Well, maybe even before that, let's again keep doing disclaimers. Like, I think there are categories that people need to look at, or we need to look at when we're talking about weight loss, because again, I think not many people are going to go and get everything tested, or they might not even be able to check what their body fat percentage is. Like, there's a lot of things that you can just, to your eye and to your regular being in your body, can tell. For me, I notice when there's that shift of muscle to fat, the scale, really, I don't change much more than 5 pounds ever.
yeah.
Even when I am working out super consistently, I don't really fluctuate that much. That I think that even in itself, when you start to see dramatic fluctuations in your weight, that would show me, and again, I don't know if this is necessarily science backed or if just common sense to me. If you're able to fluctuate in your weight pretty aggressively, that to me would show that you have more body fat than you do muscle, because to me it would be easier to see those levels change based off of, how much water you're holding, how much inflammation you might be having. That muscle doesn't adapt that fast. Would you say that there's any truth to that? Because there's some people like they can fluctuate 10 pounds within a couple days.
Yeah, that's hard to know. I think a lot of it too comes down to like how consistent is your eating. There's some people that they'll eat 3,000 calories one day, and then the next day they eat 1,500. And it's like, you literally just don't have as much content in you. And a lot of it does come down to water. I mean, that fluctuation of like 5 pounds is probably just water and whatever, to where it also is like timing of day, making sure you're weighing yourself at the same time of day after the same meals, or maybe it's right away in the morning when you haven't eaten anything. It's just that's hard because it's such a sliding scale. And that's something that Lane Norton I've heard say, that you could weigh if you are really intent about like losing weight or gaining weight. You should weigh yourself every day, but then you should take the average of the week and constantly do that week after week after week. So then you can start to see real actual progression week after week, month after month, rather than just seeing it every day and it's 5 pounds heavier, 5 pounds lighter, 5 pounds heavier, 5 pounds lighter, because that can just be confusing and you don't know what's going on. But then if you have this weekly, monthly chart of what I'm weighing, you can start to see the consistency of, okay, I'm actually decreasing in weight. It's like, 2 pounds a month or 3 pounds a month or whatever it might be. That fluctuation though, it's hard to tell if you're fluctuating a lot, because I think a lot of it does come down to like water and food and that sort of thing. It's also hard because muscle tends to hold a lot of water. So I don't think it would necessarily mean that your higher body fat percentage, or it's like going in the wrong direction versus going in the right direction because of that. But I think that seeing the progression week after week, month after month, and being consistent with that is going to show you what direction you're going, rather than like day by day, where am I at? And then you're not checking in week by week, what's my average?
But I think what I was saying with you, I think you're checking in, and I know especially if you're someone that's dealing with the struggles of weight loss, you looking at yourself in the mirror and analyzing your physique and your composition is not something that you're going to want to do. Insecurities are going to come up, all the things. I understand personally. But it's another marker that we can use to see if there's progress being had. Again, going back to if we're just using the scale, that's just a number that's not going to fluctuate potentially that much. It's not going to represent everything that you need to see. That I can stay within a few pounds and look dramatically different. One, when I notice that I'm kind of in the right direction, or if I notice that my training is on top of the eating that I'm doing and they're almost working as a pair, my body starts to get tighter. Mm-hmm. I feel like my skin starts to get tighter. I feel like my stomach doesn't have the fluctuation throughout the day of after I eat, I look bloated, or after I eat, I look just kind of puffy, or even in my skin and my face, things are just connecting to one another. That to me is a sign that I'm using the fuel to build. That when I'm not doing that, I start to get just the reverse of that. Like everything just starts to fluctuate throughout the day a little bit more. I start to get a little saggier in areas. That skinny fat look where clothes on, I probably look fine. But then when you start to pick and prod at stuff, I don't have that sucked in look. Mm-hmm. That is also where, taking into consideration almost like muscle memory in a way, I have never really been dramatically overweight. So it's not going to take me that much to just pull that dial back. If we are talking about being a little bit more overweight or aggressively overweight, that's going to take time to reverse. I think where people get caught up is they're like, well, I ate good for a week and I'm not noticing anything. You have, this is going to sound aggressive, but you have so many more layers of fat to burn off and to get through that you're not going to see the composition change as much as if you were maybe on the little bit of leaner side. So if you are on the more overweight side, some things that I would say to focus on are, what are your hunger cues? If you're noticing that you're eating at random times of the day, or you're hungry one day and then you're not hungry the next, or you're only noticing, I get hungry when I'm thinking about eating more of the processed stuff. To me, that would be a sign that your activity level isn't pushing it enough because you're not allowing your body to get hungry. Also, your behaviors with foods are probably not nailed down as much as they need to. Is your sleep being affected? If you're in the progress and you're in the getting better, your sleep should probably be better. You should probably have more energy. You should probably notice a little bit more of a zest. You might still see the fluctuation in energy throughout the day because your body is also adapting. Overall, like less brain fog, more clarity. Those might be your signs of wanting to eat a little bit more, choosing the better options and actually looking forward to those better options, looking forward to maybe a little bit more activity because it's going to start to become easier on your body. Energy, less brain fog. That would be more the signs that I would be looking for, because you might not be able to look in the mirror and go, oh yeah, I look tighter or skinnier today. It's going to take a little bit to get to that point. So don't discourage yourself by just looking at a few of those markers.
Well, and I think your body has a memory. So it's like if you're have been overweight for most of your life, that's kind of the homeostasis that it's going to want to stay. So when you're trying to lose weight and you're reducing calories and you're doing all the stuff, and then you have a week of kind of, who cares, I'm not really paying attention to it, your body wants to get back to its memory that when you're on the leaner side or more muscular side, it's somewhat of the same thing. Like, you've literally built more muscle fibers. So now for someone like me, when I go back into working out, my body will probably respond quicker because I have the muscle and the muscle fibers. It's going to want to go back to that, just like in the opposite if you're more overweight, you have a higher body fat percentage. As you start to fall off the wagon with that, your body's going to start going back to that a little bit quicker. Like the way that people that are overweight end up gaining the weight back or gaining even more weight, it's harder, or it's easier and faster than somebody like myself where I haven't been that way. My body doesn't really want to go in that direction because that's uncharted territory, and its homeostasis really isn't there. So I think also for the times where it feels discouraging and it's not going that fast, you kind of have to look at where has your life been for most of it. You're fighting against that, to where that's going to be a longer process, a more diligent process than, if you were to kind of, who cares? Like if you wanted to be 20% body fat, 25% body fat, your habits, your body's memory, that's going to be easier to sustain and to go back to than completely changing it and trying to now be 8%. It's like, have you ever been 8% body fat? That's going to be really hard to get to if you've never been there. So taking that into consideration as you're going through your process of losing weight, putting on muscle, all that kind of thing, nobody, like we can go sit here and go like, you just got to do these things and you'll be okay and it'll work. There's a lot of truth to that, but your time frame of that, or how difficult that will be for you, is different than the next person. So even like with us too, like what you're wanting from your body of building muscle in this area, or, leaning out in that area, whatever it might be, is going to be different between us two, because that's just what you've already learned and the behaviors you've already created in your body's memory of that.
That's where I would say because this is a slow rolling process, I think step one is just to embrace that. And I know that doesn't sound maybe as exciting or inspiring, because most of us, we want a change. And if you're listening to this wanting to make a change, you want it to happen now. And we are in a multi-generation of getting things whenever we want it.
Instant gratification.
Yeah, that our bodies need time to mold and shape into new behaviors and new ways. Like, you're physically changing your chemical balances, your hormones, your brain, and how you connect to activity and how you connect to food. That's a lot, and why a lot of us struggle in these areas, or why we are even overweight to begin with, was because those behaviors weren't checked along the way. And not to, give you shame about that, but we're in this place now needing to have this conversation because there were so many markers that we just went, I'm not going to focus on it. So we need to reverse that system, but still giving yourself those same checkpoints that you probably had along the way. I mean, it's very simple, but you don't gain all that weight overnight. So you're not gonna be able to lose it overnight either. I would start by just observing your behaviors. And you could say it in a different way of tracking, but I know to some people that's like, oh my gosh, I don't want it to track. Just start to observe your behaviors around activity, stress, food, and sleep. Example for me, I notice that when I am in work zone, I'm starting to get more stressed, or I'm starting to get more busy. Lunch is the first thing that I just go, I'm not going to eat, because it's right in the middle of the day. I don't want to have to stop what I'm doing. So that was quickly a meal that I would just stop eating. And I say that not in a positive way. My struggle is more so not getting enough calories, especially not getting enough protein, that I was not fueling my activity for the day. So I know that my behavior with food is I let it go on the back burner pretty quickly. I'm not someone that can force myself to eat. If I'm not hungry, I almost make myself sick by eating, just because my stomach is just more sensitive. So I know I need to maintain the calories. So I need to put in procedures that, hey, it's going to be lunchtime. That's going to be something that I'm going to push under the rug really fast. what can I do? What system can I set up so that I hit those markers every time? Is it I'm making the same thing every single lunchtime, so I don't really have to focus on, oh, well, now I have to even think about what I'm going to make. And is that even out? Or is the meat thawed? Or do I even have those veggies that I want? Having the same thing consistently, that I'm taking away that decision, that I can put less time to lunch. Is my activity allowing for my hunger cues to remain the same? Am I working out really hard for a week and then not moving at all? Am I going on walks for several days and then I'm not moving at all? That's going to allow my hunger cues to be way too up and down, that I'm going to then just go with whatever my body is saying versus telling my body, this is what I would like us to do. Let's get on the same page. So I would start just observing your behaviors before you start getting in deeper, which I think we're still going to suggest, of getting more particular with what you're tracking and how you're eating. I would just start observe your habits. What are your habits with food? What are your habits with sleep? Is that not in alignment? What are your habits with fitness? Is that not in alignment? And then making those behaviors that you notice that are weird, or even all the behaviors, making them as consistent as possible. Inconsistency is where your weakness and your hedonism starts to come out, where you just start living how you want versus being within a coupling of your body and what you want.
I think you hit on the head with the consistency, because one of the things that is maybe forgotten but just not paid attention to enough is, what is the signal that you're sending to your body? If you're sending a signal of things being erratic and not consistent and not in a progressive manner, I mean, really it's just the consistency. That's where you're going to have all these fluctuations, and it's going to feel like you're not making a whole lot of progress and going down the route that you want to go down. So consistency, I think, is the major point of that. And then what is that consistent signal that you're sending to your body? Is it we need to put on muscle? Is it we need to lose weight? Is it lose body fat percentage? Like, what is the signal you're sending? For me, for example, of the going from 8% body fat to 20% body fat, the signal I was sending was my body is going, okay, we need to prepare for something, so we're putting on body fat. Your body's constantly preparing for what you're, like, the inputs that you're putting on it. He's eating over 3,000 calories a day and not moving a lot. So we need to respond in a way that's preparing him for whatever this thing is. So what are you preparing your body for? Now, if I go start working out intensely or going on long walks, that's how these people are able to run these ultra marathons or lift a ton of weight, is they've constantly send a signal to their body of, we need to be prepared for this task. So we need to respond by putting on more muscle, or, you know, where people are overweight now is we need to be prepared of having a lot of this body fat, because they constantly keep feeding me stuff and not moving or not exercising. There's no outputs. We need to put on body fat for whatever is coming. So having this idea of what is the signal that I'm sending to my body every single day and consistently, that's what your body's going to start responding to and molding its shape around and internally doing. So if you're trying to, you know, lose weight, put on muscle, you need to be sending the signals that are going to promote that and do that. You know, resistance training, that's going to promote the building muscle. Your calories being a little bit lower so that you're expending more than what you're putting in, that's going to start helping you lose weight. And I think that's where you start to get into the things being more tactical and like specific numbers wise. It's really hard to do that stuff if you don't know the numbers of it. Taking the building muscle example, for me, if I'm just doing workouts at home, I don't have a really great program, or I don't have a program and I'm just like picking exercises. I'm picking weights that, oh, I think I did this last time, so I'll just do this again, when in reality you could do 20 pounds more. You're not sending a muscle building signal. You're sending a, we're doing this exercise and maybe maintaining, but what are you doing on the other end of that? For me, it was eating too much. So now that stuff's not being fueled and put to the right places. It's, well, he's not really sending a muscle building signal. He's sending a just be where you're at signal, but then he's eating way more and having way more calories. There's only really one place that's going to go, and that's body fat. So you have to start to be a little bit more tactical of, okay, last week I did, dumbbell chest press with 25s and I did them 10 times. Let's see if I can hit 12 this week, because I need to show and push my body that we need to build muscle because something's coming. It's like your body's constantly thinking like, what's coming? What do we need to be prepared for? You got to tell your body, this is what we need to be prepared for. We did 12 this week. And then next week it's like, okay, so we need to build more muscle. So now next week's like, well, let me try the 30s. And now I can do the 30s 9 times and 10 repetitions when I wasn't able to do that before. You have to have this progressive thing. It's what they talk about in, resistance training a lot, is the progressive overload. You have to have this consistent building if you want your body to change. And the same thing comes on the food aspect. If you're eating 3,000 calories a day and you're not really working out intensely or doing anything, you're just sending a signal of put on more weight, and that's going to be put on more fat. To where if you do that in the opposite, hey, we've been eating 2,500 calories and now he's only feeding me 23. Well, he's sending me a signal that like we need to lose some of this weight and lose some of this stuff in order to hit this homeostasis and be at a comfortable position. So now you start to see the weight drop because you're reducing the calories. But if you don't know how many calories you're eating and you just go like, well, I'm going to start eating a little bit less, it might not even be less. You have no idea.
Yeah.
Because you don't know what you started at. Or it might be weight.
15 almonds versus 10 almonds could put you over.
Yeah. Yeah. Like you have to know these things in order to have a tactical approach to it, and also to continue to make progress. It's like if you do anything, you go to school and you just show up on test day, there's no preparation. You didn't prepare your mind to know any of this stuff. Like you're probably not going to do that well. But if you've been studying and doing all the stuff that you're supposed to be doing consistently, now when you take the test, you're going to be prepared and be able to pass that and then make progression with your learning after that. It's the same thing with the body. Like you have to be tactical and progressing in the directions that you want to go. And if you don't have a good gauge of that, or you don't know those things, like if I were to ask you, what can you squat for 10 reps? And that's like, you could probably only get 10 reps. What can you bench press for 10 reps? What can you deadlift for 10 reps? And then what can you do for 12? What can you do for 15? You should know these things. And that, if you know those things, that kind of tells you, okay, I'm on the right path. And now I need to maybe bring up intensity in the gym and start to push those numbers. And it's the same conversation with the food. If I ask you how many calories you eat a day and you have no idea, that's a big red flag of, well, we don't know what we're going to be doing here then.
Especially if there's a goal in mind.
Well, right.
Like for me, I don't know how much I eat in the day. I mean, I could tell you the exact meals that I have every day because that's easier for me to eat that way, as I eat the same things generally. I wouldn't know calories wise what I'm bringing out. I wouldn't know specific numbers of the macros, but I'm also not in a goal orientated way of living.
Right.
As soon as I start this program for the summer, absolutely I will know that. And I will know, what do I weigh? What are my measurements? I'm going to be tracking every single workout of, okay, this set, I picked up these dumbbells and I did it for this amount of times. I am a little bit crazier when it comes to those because I also like to know, how is it affecting my overall feeling? I will still probably even track on those days, like, hey, I'm getting tired every day on this third day. Or like after this workout, I'm exhausted. Or this workout, this is when I get sore. Or I'm noticing by week 3, I'm having more aches and pains. That is a little bit extreme, but tracking just calories and tracking my workouts is an extreme for me. Not that it needs to be extreme, but like that's something I could easily do. Now, again, working in those always the analogy that you use, like the driving in the
snow tracks.
The snow tracks. I am able to then increase my progress and being able to track more and get even more out of my goal because I'm able to identify more and track my behaviors and water the seed even more. I think of, and you know, to get more whatever about it, I think we have to get back to having a relationship. Well, I don't know if we ever did. Getting back to having a relationship with yourself and with your body and with your brain and how everything works. We're so disconnected from how we're feeling that the amount of times, you know, you'd have a conversation with people and it's like, do you even know when you get tired? Do you know in the day when you're like, what is a hunger signal to you? Do you know the fact that you have to observe your behaviors with food and fitness, to me, shows that there's a disconnect from your body, that we need to get back to that. The same way that you have a relationship with your partner or with your kids or with your family, you need to have that with yourself, that then you can start to see what seeds am I actually have been watering this whole time. Because if you're needing to lose weight, you should know probably how you got there. Was it you had the last couple of years are stressful? Were you pregnant recently? Were you, you know, kind of just saying screw it, and then you got to a point where it was too far gone? The same way that if you were trying to change a behavior, say with your partner, of you're naturally a shyer person and people tend to walk all over you, let's just say, and you're now wanting to be more upfront with people, be confrontational in a positive way, and speak, you know, come at it with confidence. That is going to, and you're just like, I'm just going to start being that way. That's just not going to happen. You're not going to just start being that way, for one, but also to that other person, that's going to come off very jarring and very confusing because they're so used to seeing you in this way that you need to start slow rolling that new behavior out. You're almost testing it out and seeing what works and what doesn't work. And then you also need to be consistent with building that new behavior with your partner. You can't go one day, I'm going to call you out and say, you're not going to talk to me that way, and I'm going to have my own whatever. And then the very next conversation you have, you're like, hey, yeah, whatever you want. It's like, that is so whiplashy for those people. You have to think of your body in the same way. You can't go, well, today I'm going to work out and I'm going to eat how the calories that I'm supposed to, and I'm not going to go over, and I'm not going to have any sauces on my food, and I'm not going to have this in my coffee. And then the next day you go off the rails and you're like, well, I got too busy, so I missed my workout. Or there were several days where I was on it and I ate the way that I needed to, and then I took a couple days off. That is so back and forth for the new behavior that you're trying to create, that your snow tracks are weaving in and all out of the road. The more that you can stay consistent, the more that behavior will become more familiar to you. So you're able then to track, when are you weaving off of the path? What does that feel when you're weaving off of the path? And your forward progression is going to keep rolling. That will be easier for you to be able to maintain those new behaviors, as well as your progress will build, because it's like compounding interest. The more that you're on track with your food, the way your body's going to respond is starting to become quicker and quicker. The way that your body's going to respond to your workouts is going to start to become quicker and quicker. So it's creating new behaviors, but being consistent about them. I think if you're one of those people like, I keep wanting to lose weight, but it takes forever, or I go back and forth, it's because the consistency isn't there. It's just, it would happen if you were consistent enough. And that seems very black and white and maybe too easy, but if you are consistent enough with what we're talking about of calories in, calories out, we're tracking that. Are we consistent with our workouts? And consistent meaning you could maybe going 1 or 2 times a week and that's it, but you hit that every single week. There is just, you might be the 1-2% anomaly if that's not happening. And even if that is not happening for you, then I think we got to dive even deeper into the behaviors of, is there something sneaky that you're not paying attention to? Because when we talk to people, there's always something sneaky that they're not paying attention to.
Yeah, well, I think the consistency is the key point, and then I think the next point is the progress of that. Because you can be going to the gym once or twice a week, but if you're phoning it in, or
true.
if you if you had progress for, say a month, and now you're just kind of staying at those same weights that you're lifting, or you're doing your hour walk, and you're not progressing these things, you're not sending a signal for your body to change at all. And that's why we recommend of, switch up your program, start doing new exercises, or start doing a different rep range. And now, so you started at 10 repetitions, but now you're doing 15. So now you're sending a little bit different of a stimulus. You're having to pick different weights in order to meet those requirements. You have to continue to have progress with what you're doing if you want your body to continue to progress. The food thing and the calories thing, I think, is a little bit different, because that's your input, and what you're trying to keep consistent is the calories, the protein, that sort of stuff, but it's mostly just to fuel your body for the exercise and the activities that you're going to be doing throughout the day. And that's where you're able to manipulate the body fat percentage to muscle percentage and your weight coming down. If you know your maintenance is 2,500 calories a day and you're consistently eating 2,300, after a while, that will probably start to become your maintenance. But at a certain point, like, you're going to be losing the weight that you need to be losing, because also, like, a lot of people don't know what they actually want or what weight they actually want to be at. Like, you have somebody lose 20 pounds and they go like, well, and I feel like a little too skinny and weak. So then they gain 5 more pounds and they're like, well, I don't like seeing that on the scale. And it's like, okay, well, we need to start to get to where you like to feel really good and you like how you look. That a lot of time comes down to like your muscle and fat percentage rather than the weight on the scale. It's like I
said, I've fluctuated maybe 5 pounds, maybe 7 in the last decade.
Yeah. Well, but your body composition has changed throughout
so
that
much,
too.
Yeah.
And for me, it's like I'm going to be in a progress of wanting to put on more muscle, but also put on more weight. So I'm not wanting to get super lean again and be 8% body fat and be at 165. Like, I'm okay with having a little bit higher of a body fat percentage, but I want to be more muscular. So that's why I'm going to keep the calories the same and see if I can just have this transfer of fat to muscle, because I'd like to look aesthetically more muscular. If I'm doing that, body fat percentage should come down, but then I'd still like for weight to continue to rise up a little bit, being at 172 pounds. I'd be okay with that weight continuing to go up, because I'm going for a certain aesthetic look that I'm wanting, to where I think a lot of people don't maybe even know what they want with that. They just want to lose weight, and then they lose a bunch of weight and they go like, well, I just kind of look flabby now. And it's like, yeah, because your body fat percentage didn't really change that much. You just changed your diet, didn't do anything with exercise. So now you went from 180 pounds down to 160, but you're like, oh, I kind of have like loose skin, or like I just look skinny fat. To where if we're consistently weight training, you might be okay being 165, 170, but looking more muscular and looking less flabby. And that might be your ideal range. So I think there's also this kind of misconception of what people even want to be. And that's where this is just a continual game to be played. If you're into that kind of stuff, there's a lot of people that are just like, I'm 30 pounds overweight. I don't want to be 30 pounds overweight. And they lose the weight, and that's fine. And then they can stay there. But I think throughout this progress, just having a little bit more of an open mind of not so stuck to the numbers necessarily, because they're going to help you get to where you want to go. And I think it's important to do that. But you might not, it's like when people, if I just lose 30 pounds, like, I'll be happy. Or if I just make this amount of money, I'll be happy. You have to kind of get rid of that, because you have no idea what that looks like. So then when you do lose those 30 pounds and you're like, this isn't what I thought it would look like or feel like, it's like, well, yeah, because you've never been there, or you don't know. So having an open mind with that. And then once you do get to that point, it's not like if you're overweight, losing 30 pounds is bad, but there's a way to do that I think it sets you up a little bit better than just lose 30 pounds and now we got to start we got to start weight training if you want a less flabby look. Now that's a whole new behavior you have to do. That's totally fine. But we also could have done that throughout that whole process of you lifting weights to not look flabby when you do lose those 30 pounds.
And that's where I think very basic protocol, having some sort of resistance training protocol within your week should be a standard request.
Yeah.
I guess, because it's not the common practice. When people want to lose weight, treadmill.
Yep.
They go to the cardio. They go, and yes, that will definitely help. But when you consider calories in, calories out, it's really hard to burn calories.
Yeah. You don't burn as many calories as one would think.
No, it's really hard. So I think it should be less about I'm going to eat and then burn. It needs to be, I need to eat with the idea for fuel and use that fuel to build versus eating to then just stripping away. Like, that just seems backwards to me. You're just fueling enough just to pull it away. You're fueling enough just to pull it away. I mean, that's like eating disorder. Like, you're just putting it in to try to get rid of it quickly. Versus, can this be used to build something?
And that's probably where a lot of people go wrong, is how draining that is.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
You know, you wonder why your energy's so low, or brain fog, or you're not sleeping as well. Your body's starting to ache more and more. Like, that's a very extreme way to go about it, rather than like sending a better signal than that.
Yeah.
Of, yes, let's lose weight, but let's also build muscle in the process, so that when you do lose that weight, you're sitting in a really great position of your energy is better. It's not worse. You don't have the brain fog. You can sleep really well through the night. Sleep is even improved. If you're doing all these things to lose weight and all of those markers are becoming worse, like, that's going to show you're probably going to burn out.
And your body won't allow you to do that, because it's going to signal this person is stressed.
Well, that's where I think, like, it might for some people. I think it certainly might for some people. I mean,
it does, because
it's the same in reverse of, like, being like, your body's not going to put on weight. It's just going to stay where it's at, and you're going to get tired. It's like, no, you're going to get to 20% body fat.
Yeah.
Like, you probably will lose weight, but all of these other things in your life are going to be worse. That's why people struggle so much with exercising and doing all of these things that we're talking about, is they do it in such a draining way that they're like, I just can't do it. Like, I'm working out 3 times a week. It's a HIIT workout. My sleep sucks. I still have to go to work and do regular day life. And, like, my eating is super hard to eat because I'm either not that hungry, or, like, what I am eating is just sucks and it's boring or whatever. And it's like, your state of mind is so jacked up because, yeah, you sleep like shit. You don't have energy. Those 2 things alone are going to drain a person, to where you could do this in a better way. And that's why we always suggest eating better, eating whole natural foods, and lifting, because those 2 things are going to be really great things to lean on to help facilitate all the other things. Better energy, better sleep, less brain fog, more alert, able to attack your day and not, like, just mosey on through the day.
Yeah. I think even just the mindset of, I'm going to lose weight, I'm going to restrict calories, I'm going to start doing cardio, that is, you're pulling away from yourself versus analyzing your food behaviors, starting to make these swaps for better quality of what you're eating. You're not doing the fluff. You're not doing the filler foods and the highly processed, and it just makes you feel good in your brain, what you think makes you feel good, versus whole, dense, like nutrient dense, fueling your body, filling your body foods and then having the resistance training on with that. This is, on this side, you're building, you're creating. Stripping, taking away, limiting. Building, creating. Stripping, taking, building, creating. That just mentally, doesn't that sound better?
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to have to limit myself to, majority. Like, I would rather fuel myself so that I can try new things and have more energy and build something new. It's so much harder to tell yourself you can't, or you got to push a little bit harder because you had this.
You're running away from something rather than towards something.
Right.
I think that's where you mentioned something about it that made me think of it, of just like where society is at with that stuff. We are in such a place of just numbing our mind all the time. It's like, whether it's with our phones, whether it's with TV shows, the food we eat, the lack of exercise, like going to work and just getting through the day. We're just constantly trying to numb our mind to get through the things. And I think what we're talking about is being very, the opposite of that. I don't want to be mind numbing. I want to be alert and progression driven and going for something. These things help promote that, and hopefully will help promote that for more of your life too. That's like you're going on a walk rather than sitting on your phone. There's a completely different thing that's happening in your mind comparing those two things. Like, you're going on a walk, you're outside, or even if you're on your treadmill, you're doing something that's
activating your brain and your body.
Yeah, and like you're very alert with that. And I would even recommend doing that stuff without, I'm going to go on the treadmill and watch a TV show the whole time. It's like, no, you're trying to numb your mind rather than let's do this to progress to something and to get to somewhere, rather than I'm going to just try to block everything out and hopefully my body changes by doing that.
That's just, again, now have that relationship with your partner.
Exactly.
I'm just going to ignore you and pretend that you're not there and just be numb to this.
Yeah.
Now have a good relationship. It's not going to happen.
No.
You have to be engaging with them. You have to observe your guys' behavior together. You have to get back to having a relationship with yourself.
And I think that is being in a progression mindset too, of how do I get better at this, or how do I continue to add to this experience that we're doing. And that's whether it's with relationships or with what we're talking about of exercise and nutrition and all that kind of stuff. Like, we're constantly, okay, if we adjust the diet a little bit this way, does that make things better? Workouts, can we add a little bit more weight or change the exercise or go into different rep range? Like, the constant focus of progress, that is where the actual feeling good about yourself and feeling good about what you're doing comes from. Not the donuts, not the, oh, I want to go work out, or I should go work out, but the chair's just too comfortable and I really like this TV show, so I'm just going to stay here instead. Like, that is the instant gratification. Now when you wake up the next day, or you look at the clock and it's been an hour and a half and you're like, I would have had a workout done by now and I probably would feel really good after that. You're just constantly choosing, like, you're constantly choosing a path that's the opposite of regression. You're constantly choosing regression and mind numbing, toward that. Switching that to progression, I think, is a huge point of it. Consistency and then progression with that.
It's very easy to become complacent with this process.
Oh, yeah.
It's very easy to start letting your behavior slip, the consistency slip. This is a long process, so you have to give yourself grace with understanding you're potentially changing very big pillars of your life, but you, like, go from being a shy person to an outgoing person. That's not going to happen overnight. That's not going to happen with one social gathering. You have to start learning behaviors that are going to not be instantaneous, but like it becomes natural to you. These behaviors are not natural to you. Clearly, you're overweight. These are not things that come easy to you. These are not things that are consistent or habitual to you. You have to start making them go in reverse. That the progression aspect of this, your brain is probably not going to adapt as quickly as your body can. So with the workouts, with the food, your body's going to kind of get on the roll much quicker. Your body's going to get adapted to the weight that you're lifting. It's your brain that stops you and slows the progression. So the quicker that you can get on board with yourself, again, checking in those behaviors. When I go to the gym and I'm tired, what do? Am I someone that punches through and goes, no, this is what I wrote down. Last week I did this amount of weight. I want to progress. This is what I'm putting on the bar, regardless. Or are you, yeah, I'm super stressed and I had a tough day, so, it's just better for me to take it easy. It's like, is that your brain giving you the cop out? Your body's ready. Your body's ready, fueled, ready to hit the workout. Your brain is what's going, oh, but it's cold out.
Yep.
I don't want to have to drive to the gym, or it's busy during this time of day, or, oh, that person's using that equipment, so I probably should just leave. Your body isn't doing that. It's your brain that's fighting with your body. Allow those things to work together. Give yourself grace with it. But most of the time, it's not our bodies getting in the way. It's our brain.
Yeah. I've heard this a lot lately. We overestimate what we can do in a week, and we underestimate what we can do in a year. And I think there's a lot of truth to that. And so much of that comes down to what we're talking about, of consistency and then the progression of that. Like, obviously, a week's worth of time isn't going to build consistency. You can have progress in that week because you started from not working out or not eating well to, I did that for a week, and that's progression. But now the consistency comes in. And I think also, if you've been in that process of 6 months and you have that consistency, now the progression starts to fall off. You start to get complacent and you start to not push the weights as much, not eat as good. Maybe you start to fall off a little bit that way, to where if you kept that consistency in the progression throughout longer periods of time, I think you'd be very surprised of what you could do in a year. But that's a hard concept that's a hard thing to do. It's a thing we say all the time. Like, it's simple, not easy. You get to a month in, you're already wanting to quit on this and be done with it. To where if you kept this same consistency and progression for 11 more months, like, you'd be very surprised of where you could be at in a year. And that's so much of the key to it.
And that's where I think tracking the individual progressions helps also with the making that feel like it's more in your hands and you're taking charge of it. To me, tracking the workouts does give me that. I could, look out after the end of the summer and I want to say, well, I would like to see some change in the next 4 months. That seems like a lot of pressure to me. I don't like having this, I hope I look different, because I'm going to put too much pressure on myself. But if I can see every workout, I'm getting more fluid with the lifts. I'm getting back into a gym. So those movements might not be as solid as they used to. So am I noticing I'm getting better at these? That's progression. Am I notice that I'm getting stronger because I'm tracking the weights every workout? Yes. Am I noticing that I'm starting to slowly see my body form in the way that I want? I can track that during the whole time. I don't have to wait until the end of the summer and go, well, did I do it?
Yeah.
That's too much pressure for me. That even if it is, I did my whole agenda this week. That's awesome. Every day, and not to sound so one of these people, but like every day and every week, every month, you can have a win in all of those times. Even if you got through half the day and you're like, I didn't break what I said I was going to do.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Celebrating yourself along the way, I think, also proves that you're doing it. I think a lot of us, we can sometimes get in this, well, I'm not to my goal, so it's nothing. I'm not at that year mark where I feel better or I look better. Or I'm not at the weight on the scale that I said, or I'm not this body fat percentage, or I'm not looking like this. So then it's nothing and I'm a failure. You have to have these little wins along the way to show yourself, yeah, okay, so I'm doing it. And if you're not able to track those wins, maybe you're not doing it. And there needs to be a check-in of, okay, brain, what's happening? It's not your body. It's your brain that's not allowing your body to succeed.
I think the last thing for me is just going back to and hitting the point again of what you just kind of ended with, of like having to track these things. How do you know if you're making any progress if you're not tracking any of the stuff? If you're never stepping on the scale, or if you're never writing down or having some, maybe on your phone, having some sort of idea of, are the weights going up? Am I able to go on longer walks? Am I going at a faster speed? Am I, just any of that stuff. If you're not tracking these things, and it's the same with food, of knowing what you're putting in your body. Am I hitting the protein levels that I need to be hitting? I've chosen to do, if you've chosen to do a lower carbohydrate diet, am I keeping that consistent and keeping that low? Am I doing a lower fat diet? I'm keeping that low. I'm keeping that consistent. If you're not having these things being tracked, how are you going to see progression? And then if you're not seeing progression, that's where so many people fall off. So I think you need to be tracking these things in order to see that you're making progression, and also see if you're not making progression, where can I make adjustments? But you have to be tracking these things.
Yeah. See this as it is a journey of gaining new skills, changing your behaviors, and changing who you are. Like, allow yourself to be challenged by this. It's simple, but not easy. You're changing very big pillars of how you behave. So allow there to be grace. That's going to take time. But the math is not difficult. You don't have to run all these hormone panels and see, oh, well, I have this little bit in a vitamin deficiency, so then that's the reason. Or I was not sleeping for 6.5 hours, or I was not sleeping for 8 hours, so now I'm 30 pounds overweight. It's like, it's never that complicated. Almost never that complicated. It's very simple metrics, very simple math, very simple behaviors that allow you to be this way. You just got to allow yourself to show up and start to create that relationship with yourself.
All right. As we close out, hit the like button, hit subscribe if you're not subscribed, and self-esteem isn't real.